Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lauren and I am healing my chronic fatigue and adrenal fatigue by healing old emotional wounds, early life trauma, early life rooted emotional toxicity, and all the emotional toxicity that comes from living a life with those old toxic emotions and wounds. Today I'm going to be talking about astrology. Because astrology, and I've mentioned it in passing many times in my videos, but astrology has actually been extremely helpful to me in this process. So when I was first going on this journey, so I became very, very ill in January of 2019. I started on a spiral crashing down at the end of 2018. And I discovered this breathing technique that I teach on this channel and in this course, this adrenal course that I'm creating. And if it's done by the time you watch this, then there will be a link to that course down below in the comment section. But so that's what I teach, this breathing technique that just changed my whole trajectory. I was on a downward spiral, and the breathing and the mindset changes that I made, that I go into depth in that course, and I discuss on this channel, those two things stopped the decline. Again, I was on this downward spiral. I kept crashing and crashing, and I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to stop. This adrenal breathing technique just saved me. It saved me. It took about 3 months of doing this breathing technique every day, throughout the day, consistently, just religiously, every day, all day, throughout the day. It's just for days, for months, for 3 months until I finally stopped crashing. And it took that long because my nervous system was in such an intense state of stuck in threat mode that it took that long to reset my nervous system. And then for the following year and a couple months, I consistently used that breathing technique to rewire my nervous system, so that my nervous system's default would be to the parasympathetic mode, the rest, digest, and heal state. But during that time, other things are happening. I was going through severe emotional changes and emotional turmoil. And to this illness, and I don't know if you can relate to this, severe adrenal fatigue and severe chronic fatigue, the way that it changes your life from an external perspective, really, it causes intense internal changes as well. And I think that's talked much less about as parts of this illness, these illnesses, these fatigue illnesses. But they can result in severe depressive states, anxiety, but of course you don't want anxiety, that'll make your adrenals worse. There are all kinds of emotions, and what I believe is the root cause of this illness, in many cases, in my case, is the root cause can be, or a contributing cause can be, old emotional wounds that you couldn't feel. You couldn't feel as a child, and you learned defenses that created patterns in which you learned how to stop that emotion whenever it came up. And so you were living your entire life not feeling certain emotions. Part of the definition of depression is not an emotion. Depression is actually the suppression of emotion. So if you have symptoms of depression, it means that there are emotions that you have not been able to face, that have been too big, too scary, too painful. And probably in addition to, you have defenses, as I'm saying, to block those emotions because they were too big for you to experience as a child. And so your body was protecting you, but now it's causing this problem of depression. And so that can go along a lot of times with this illness. And so what if that doesn't happen? What if the depression not only happens as a result of the life changes that happen because you can't work, you can't do anything, you can't exercise, you can't play with your kids, you can't do any of the things you can't go on adventures, you can't go out to eat, you can't do all the things, the socializing, all the things that you used to be able to do, you're sort of forced into this hermit state. Well, of course, that would cause a person to have very, depressed feelings, remorse of the life that you've lost. So there's a lot of emotional stuff that's going on at the same time as you're healing your nervous system. You're also going through all this emotional stuff that's like, now everything's getting churned up. As you calm your nervous system, what happens is old feelings start to come up. Old repressed feelings start to come up. So you have that on top of your defenses that are repressing the emotions and depressing the emotions. And then on top of it, you have your whole world has sort of collapsed. And so of course you're going to feel loss and sadness and grief and all these things. You feel like you've lost your life in a lot of ways. You can take it a step further. For me, it felt like I was losing myself, my entire sense of self. I was losing my sense of myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. I felt like as I was going through these emotional processes and changes and really reflecting on what is causing this illness, what is this illness about? Why can't I heal it? Why can't I solve it? What is happening? And as I calm my body, all these other things are coming up from my past. And it was causing so much turmoil, and it actually resulted in a breaking down of my personality. I ended up going through this process of dismantling every belief that I had had in the rest prior to this illness for the rest of my life. I was a student of Joe Dispenza's, and I learned about unconscious beliefs, and the personality that creates an illness is not the personality that's going to create the healing. And I really took that in a deep way, and I started dismantling all my old beliefs. And it became worth it because this illness was too great. It was too much. I had to heal. I had to heal. There was no, I was determined without any shadow of a doubt. I must heal this. I will heal this. And so I was going to do whatever it took. And so when I learned this, I really took it to heart. It hit my intuition, and it felt true to me. I knew that it was true, and I started on this journey of dismantling my beliefs. And in turn, sort of dismantling my personality in a lot of ways. All the things that I believed were true for myself, of myself. So what happened as a result is over the period of 2019, I was doing this. And at the end of 2019, I hit this place that was very, very dark. It was similar to depression, but it was different too. It just felt empty, void. I felt so empty. I felt like this empty vessel. There was nothing inside. I felt like there was nothing. I didn't feel like there was anything to connect to. What I learned later is this is called a dark night of the soul. And it's different than what happens when you have some experience of loss in your life. Loss of a relationship, loss of a pet, a loved one. It's different. Loss is an intense feeling. But a dark night of the soul is different because it's a loss of self. You're losing your sense of self. And that's really scary. It really shakes the core, the foundation that you live on. You feel like your whole foundation has just been uprooted. And again, the sense of emptiness was so profound. It lasted a couple of months, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get out of it, and I didn't know who I was. I kept having this thought of, well, if I'm not those things, well, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? If I'm not those things, who am I? It just was like this recurring thing that came in my mind, and I just couldn't. It was like, it was constant. It was constantly nagging at me. Plus this empty feeling was what was causing it to nag at me, because this empty feeling was this loss of connection with self. Because I don't know who myself is. You can't connect to somebody you don't know who they are. You can't connect to something that you can't see, feel, and experience. So I was turned to the idea of astrology one day. I think it was actually from my sister. And I started looking into it a little bit. And I had heard of it before. We've all heard of it, right? As we all know our sun sign. Everybody knows their sun sign, pretty much. But there's a lot of cultural sort of crap around that stuff. But I had always dismissed it because I didn't connect to it at all. I didn't connect with it. I didn't relate to it. However, that was in my previous life, the first 30 years of my life. However, after going through this process, I was seeking. I was desperate. I was searching for who am I? Any clue to who I am at my core, because I couldn't see it. All I could see was the personality that I had created for myself, which now I had dismantled. So then I started reading more about my sun sign and my other signs, my moon sign, my ascendant sign, and I started to look really deeply because it was really intriguing to me. It was because all of a sudden I could see parts of my personality. It sparked this idea that when I read the things about Aries, which is my sun sign, all of a sudden I could have an inkling of like, I mean, gosh, maybe I can relate to that. Maybe I am like that. Maybe I am. I wonder if I am. And it really intrigued me. It hit a part of me that it was odd. It hit a new part of me that I had never seen before and I never felt before. And yet when I read it, I felt seen. I felt like it was something that I knew, that I knew it was true about me. I mean, that's intuition, right? That's messages from your higher self. When there's a knowing, and not just a thinking, but there's this deep down knowing that something's true, that's your higher self, that's your soul, that's your spirit. And it intrigued me so much, I started reading deeper and deeper and deeper. I got into the houses and and all of the different aspects and the planets. It was all new, and there's so much to understand about astrology that I didn't get into transits and all that. That was too much to understand. But I just started doing the basic, like the free things that you can find online. And, finding the North Node and the South Node. And what I found is the more that I read, the more that I learned, the more I felt known, the more I felt truth, that I felt like this was right. And these things, these qualities of me were things that I couldn't even see in myself, that I had no idea were there. And yet when I read them, I not only felt like they were true, but I felt inspired and hopeful for my future. And it just resonated and it excited me. And this is coming from, I was in such a dark, empty place. And over the course of a couple months, the more I read, the more inspired and hopeful I got, the more I started to be able to see these qualities in me. And when I started to actually see in truth that these qualities were in me, these were maybe actually the natural tendencies of me that I had suppressed so deeply and run away from and completely cast off because of shame. Shame of who I was, shame around my entire personality, these core parts of my personality, shame around anger, shame around power. I wasn't looking into the wounds yet, but I could see that there was a fundamental aspect here that I had done this. I had cast off these innate qualities in myself because of shame. That's when I made this connection. I always knew that shame was part of my journey, but I just didn't know how profound it was. And this was one clue towards that. This part of astrology, oh my gosh, this first step into astrology, I can't even express how much it helped me, because I'm telling you, I was in this extremely dark place, and I would lay in bed at night, or I would be doing my adrenal and liver stretches, and I would feel such grief and remorse and emptiness and feeling lost and hopeless. I just didn't know where to turn. And this started feeding ideas, which then, because once you start getting thoughts, you find something that you really resonate with and really hits your soul, you can start cultivating beliefs around that. And that, shapes, I actually started to sort of shape a new personality, except it wasn't really a new personality. It was it was always my personality. It's just that I was willing to see it now. I was willing to see it and accept it. And I hadn't healed the shame yet. I'm still doing that to this day. But it was this step, this huge, crucial step in that direction. So I stuck with that stuff, and later I got into numerology, and that just gave me a new wave. That was just a few months ago. I'm not going to go into that right now, but that is how I initially got into astrology and how it helped me on this journey. The other way that it has helped me through this journey is, over time, I've started to see that the day-to-day changes in astrological stuff really impact me, or I should say month to month. I started reading like monthly and annual horoscopes for my signs, and the degree that they resonated with me really sort of kept the momentum going. And so I used that stuff for a good year. It really helped me. It really helped push me, and it helped lead me in directions of when something new came up, to understand my tendencies, and then to understand, to be learning the monthly and annual things with my sign, to learn how the current transits and changes in the, astrological energy on the earth really helped me navigate what I was feeling, what the emotions I was going through, and the waves that were going up and down. Because 6 months later, I was going to start on this emotional healing work, this I should say, like, emotional purging, the digging into early life wounds and trauma. But that dark night of the soul was this crucial part of that. It was a crucial piece to line me up, and then to find this astrological stuff that really could support me and lead me in a direction of who the hell am I? And then to be cultivating that, and then to have the next sequence be, I'm ready to look into that deep dark stuff and heal that deep dark stuff. After cultivating a little bit, how much can you do in 6 months, right? But it's our innate self, so it doesn't take that long either to start to see and feel and experience and accept the parts of yourself that you have suppressed. And so it allowed me to be ready to start digging into the trauma and emotional wounds and toxicity that was from my early life. I believe in synchronicities, and to be honest with you, when I started getting into astrology and started seeing who I truly am, that is when the synchronicities started for me, or at least my ability to see synchronicities in my life, which was really cool, really exciting to see. And coming across this webinar series about the vagus nerve to lead me into the trauma work was 100% a synchronistic event. So that was the first sort of primary way that I used astrology to help me on this journey. But this really is the first way that I've used astrology, and I would highly recommend it to any of you who are embarking on this journey. If you find yourself in a dark night of the soul, if you find yourself in an empty place where you are dismantling old beliefs, and you feel empty and alone and afraid and lost, and you don't know what to do, and just grief and sadness and blankness. I just felt so blank and empty. It's a terrible feeling. We have all felt moments of feeling empty and disconnected. But this dark night of the soul is a prolonged period of deep emptiness, really profound emptiness that's deep and goes to your core, because it's a disconnection from self. Momentary emptiness is actually a disconnection from self, but this is a very profound disconnection of self that lasts for a protracted period. And if you find yourself there, I would highly recommend diving into astrology just with an open mind. And it doesn't have to resonate with you. I'm just sharing what helped me and what resonated with me and helped pull me out and helped to guide me who I am, where I'm supposed to be going, what is going on, who am I, all these questions that I couldn't figure. I just felt like I couldn't figure the answers out on my own. I needed some sort of clue. Astrology is where I got that clue. So I'm going to make another video on how I'm using it more in a daily, monthly, weekly pattern that is really bringing me profound benefit. And it has to do with this emotional disconnection. This disconnection where you can't access your emotions. I have found astrology can help point you in the direction of what emotional issue or pattern or behavioral pattern that it's time for you to look at and heal. Astrology helps with that. So that's going to be for my next video. I hope this was helpful, and have a beautiful rest of your day, and I will speak to you on the next one.